For this story, I want a group of adventurers in a fantasy setting exploring some place mysterious. I am keeping the premise simple because I'm going to use the blue button off to the side here to ask the AI to expand upon the premise. Already, I don't like the looks of this premise that it's come up with. Let's go back to the one that I had kept, ask it to come up with a different one, and this one looks better. Let's just add some names to the characters, and we'll let it go with this. Thinking, thinking, what to call the sorcerer. Let's watch the AI try to pronounce this. All right, I'll be quiet now and let the AI narrate the rest of the story.
The citadel looms above, its black stone towers vanishing into the roiling storm. Lightning cracks overhead as Styx, Dreskin, Growth, and Brinks huddle beneath a crumbling archway, the wind howling through shattered windows. Their breaths fog in the cold air, and the ancient-to-be doors behind them slam shut, sealing them inside with a thunderous finality. Growth's golden eyes scan the darkness, his scales glinting when the lightning flashes. No turning back, he growls, tightening his grip on a battered warhammer. Brinks flicks rain from their loot and offers a wan smile. If the legends are true, we stand at the threshold of the first dragon's tomb. Imagine the songs! Styx's fingers twitch, always close to the hilt of a hidden dagger, while Dreskin traces glowing runes in the air, his voice low with worry. Old magics sleep here, and not all should be disturbed. We must tread carefully. The four adventurers find themselves at the top of a spiral staircase leading into the depths. At their feet, the floor is inscribed with faded draconic glyphs. The air below is thick with the scent of dust and secrets. The storm rages outside, but within the citadel, it is the silence that presses close, heavy with promise and threat. Dreskin kneels beside the faded glyphs, his fingers hovering just above the ancient stone. The others gather close, the only sound the distant rumble of thunder and the soft echo of dripping water. Dreskin's eyes flicker with blue light as he chants softly in a forgotten tongue, the glyphs responding with a faint, eerie glow. These are warnings, he murmurs, tracing the serpentine script. They speak of a veil of scales, a ward against intruders. It is bound to the first dragon's breath, and only the worthy may pass unharmed. Styx leans in, brow furrowed. "Aso, we're being judged before we've even started. Typical." Growth snorts, but Brinks looks thoughtful. What counts as worthy to a dragon, I wonder? As Dreskin completes his translation, a pulse of cold air sweeps up the staircase. The glyphs flare and then fade, leaving a shimmer in the air below. An invisible barrier, perhaps, or a test waiting to be triggered. The way forward is uncertain, and the group must choose how to approach the Veil of Scales. A growth squares his shoulders, his golden eyes reflecting the shimmer of the Veil of Scales. He inhales deeply, and the faintest trace of smoke curls from his nostrils, a subtle sign of his dragon-blooded heritage. Without hesitation, he steps forward, his armored boots ringing on the ancient stone. The shimmering barrier seems to ripple as growth approaches, a chill wind brushing against his scales. For a heartbeat, the veil pulses with radiant blue light. Growth stands tall, and the barrier parts before him, allowing him to pass unharmed. The others exchange glances, relief and awe mingling in their eyes. Beyond the veil, Growth glances back and gestures for the others to follow. It recognizes Dragon's kin. He rumbles, pride and caution entwined in his voice. Yet the air feels different on the other side, thicker, charged with magic. The staircase descends into a cavernous hall where dragon statues line the walls, their jeweled eyes flickering in the gloom. At the far end, a massive door glows with a faint, shifting light, while shadows move between the statues, as if the past itself is restless here. Bryanx whispers, "It's only going to get stranger from here." The group must decide how to proceed, knowing the Veil is just the first of the Citadel's ancient trials. With a practiced nod, Styx melts into the gloom, his figure barely more than a shadow among shadows. Every step is measured, his soft boots silent against the dust-laden flagstones. He slips behind one of the dragon statues, feeling the cold weight of jeweled eyes watching him. As he edges closer to the flickering shapes, he realizes they're not tricks of the light. Faint, spectral figures drift between the statues, their forms only half anchored to the world. Styx holds his breath as one of the phantoms glides past, its hollow gaze sweeping the hall. He notes that the closer he is to the statues, the less the spirits seem to notice him. At the base of one statue he discovers a small, dragon-shaped medallion embedded in the stone, warm to the touch, pulsing with a subtle magic. He signals for the others to join him, relaying what he's learning. The statues seem to guard against the restless spirits, and the medallion might be a key or talisman. The spectral figures continue their patrols, aimless yet menacing, and the glowing door at the far end pulses more brightly, as if sensing the group's presence. Branks whispers, "If those spirits are bound to this place, perhaps we can use the statue's protection, or this medallion, to cross safely. The hall's dangers have become clearer, but so have the ways forward." Dreskin kneels beside the statue, his hands hovering over the dragon medallion as he mutters a careful incantation. The medallion warms in his palm as he lifts it free, and glowing runes spiral across its surface. Eyes narrowed in concentration, Dreskin traces the markings, murmuring a translation: "To pass unscathed, honor the pact." The medallion binds flesh to stone, spirit to will. A gentle pulse of magic sweeps through the group as Dreskin holds the medallion aloft. For a moment, everyone feels a tingling at their fingertips and a subtle heaviness in their bones, as a protective presence has settled around them. The restless spirits slow their patrol, drifting a little farther away, their forms flickering and uncertain. Growth grins, his scales shimmering in the magical light. "Looks like we're under the statue's protection now." Brinks, ever eager, taps their lute and whispers, "So long as we honor that pact, I think we're safe. But break it, and well, let's not." With the medallion's magic surrounding them, the group can either attempt a careful crossing, try to interact with the spirits, or press on toward the glowing door, each path promising new risks and revelations. With the medallion's magic humming through their bones, the group advances in a tight formation toward the glowing door. The air thickens, crackling with the energy of ancient wards, yet the spirits drift aside, their hollow stares now filled with something like reluctant respect. The jeweled eyes of the dragon statues flicker brighter as the adventurers pass, as if acknowledging the pact that shields them. The light from the door intensifies, shifting from gold to azure, casting long shadows across the stone. As they draw near, the medallion pulses more rapidly in Dreskin's grip, and faint draconic script appears on the door's surface. Growth scales shimmer in response, and even Bryanx falls silent, the usual spark of mischief replaced by awe. Styx examines the door's edges, searching for traps, while Dreskin traces the glowing script. The inscription reads, "Lay bare your purpose with truth, or the dragon's fire shall bar the way." The group realizes the door will only open if they speak their true intent. No lies, no half-truths, only honesty will gain them entry. A sense of gravity settles over the four. The time has come to declare their reasons for venturing into the citadel, knowing that any deception could mean disaster. A growth steps forward, his presence commanding and his golden eyes reflecting the runes on the door. He places a clawed hand over his heart, the medallion's magic swirling around him. In a voice that resonates through the stone, he declares, "We seek understanding, not conquest. I carry the blood of dragons and wish to honor the first dragon's memory, not to plunder it. My companions are bound by purpose. Redemption, discovery, and the power of story. We stand together to learn, to heal, and to sing what was lost." The air grows tense as the door's script flares, testing the weight of Growth's words. For a long moment, nothing happens. Then, the light envelops him and spills outward, encircling the rest of the group. The spirits in the hall bow their heads and vanish, leaving only peace in their wake. The massive door shudders and groans, ancient gears turning. Slowly, it swings open, revealing a spiral ramp descending into a chamber bathed in flickering firelight. The scent of brimstone and old parchment wafts up, and the faint outline of an enormous, sleeping form can be seen far below. Perhaps the first dragon itself, or something just as ancient. Their honesty has granted them passage, but the path ahead promises even greater mysteries and dangers that will test the very truths they have just spoken. Before crossing the threshold, Dreskin pauses and produces a slim, battered spellbook from beneath his cloak. With practiced movements, he draws a circle of faint blue light on the stone, chanting words that seem to crackle and hum in the charged air. One by one, he marks each companion's brow with a shimmering sigil, the magic settling over them like a gentle mantle. A protection against mind-altering forces, illusions, and the worst of Dragonfire. Dreskin murmurs, voice both reassuring and grim. The protective wards pulse in time with the glow of the medallion, amplifying the barrier of safety around the group. Styx flexes his fingers, feeling the subtle resistance of invisible armor, while Brinks's tune grows bolder on the strings of their lute, weaving hope into magic. With the wards in place, the group begins their descent down the spiral ramp. The chamber below flickers with firelight, and as they draw closer, the sleeping form at its heart resolves into the massive, coiled body of an ancient dragon, its scales the color of molten gold, its breathing slow but thunderous. All around, treasures glimmer in shadowy alcoves, and ancient tomes rest atop stone pedestals. Yet the air is taut with tension, as if stranger, the dragon's dreams themselves might spill into reality at any moment. At the foot of the ramp, the adventurers must, deciding approach the dragon directly, investigate the relics and tomes, or search for clues to the citadel's deeper secrets, while the guardian slumbers. The group fans out cautiously through the flickering chamber, each step muffled by dust and the uneasy hush of dragon-scented air. Styx circles the perimeter, searching for irregularities in the stonework and feeling for hidden seams. Brinks hums a soft melody, their senses tuned for the subtle tremors of magic. Dreskin, his wards still shimmering faintly, closes his eyes and reaches out with his mind for traces of arcane disturbance. Near a pile of tarnished coins, Stick's keen eyes catch a faint distortion, like heat rippling above a fire. He gestures the others over, and together they discover a concealed archway, cleverly masked by an illusion. The stone itself seems to resist their attention, but Dreskin's words provide just enough clarity to see through the glimmer. Beneath the arch is a descending passage, its entrance guarded by a series of sigils that pulse in warning. As Bryinx leans closer, a stray chord from their lute causes the sigils to shimmer, responding to music or sound. The passage seems to promise a way deeper into the citadel, perhaps to secrets the dragon itself guards, or to a hidden source of the magic that permeates this place. Yet every instinct tells the group that disturbing this path could awaken not only traps, but the ancient guardian itself. Choices now could shape the fate of the citadel, and their own destinies. Deciding discretion is the better part of valor. The group leaves the mysterious passage undisturbed and turns their attention to the wonders and dangers of the open chamber. Growth leads, his steps steady but respectful as he approaches the slumbering dragon. The massive creature's golden scales catch the firelight, and with each slow, rumbling breath, the very air seems to thrum with ancient power. Bryinx, unable to resist, drifts toward a pedestal bearing a tome bound in scales and etched with runes. Styx, ever cautious, keeps to the shadows, eyes darting between alcoves for hidden threats or treasures. Dreskin lingers near the dragon, scanning the air for subtle magical currents and listening for any shift in the guardian's breathing that might signal its awakening. As the group fans out, Bryinx gently opens the tome. The runes within begin to glow, casting shifting patterns of light across the chamber. The dragon's tail twitches, and one great eyelid flutters. For a breathless heartbeat, everyone freezes. The runes pulse with a single word: awaken. The next moment could tip the balance. Should they close the tome, try to communicate, or prepare for confrontation? The fate of their quest may hinge on this razor's edge. A growth steps forward, his heavy boots whispering on the stone. He bows low, the gesture both formal and heartfelt, and speaks in the tongue of dragons, a language older than the citadel itself. Great guardian, I am Growth, session of your kin. We come with respect and the hope of learning from your wisdom, not to steal nor to defile. The dragon's enormous head rises, two golden eyes opening to slits of molten amber. Flames flicker in its nostrils as it exhales, stirring dust and gold alike. For a tense heartbeat, the chamber is silent but for the slow, rumbling breath of the ancient beast. Then, the dragon's gaze falls on Groth, and a voice like thunder and distant song echoes through the hall. Blood remembers blood. Speak and be weighed. The dragon's presence presses on each adventurer's mind, testing the truth of Groth's words and the hearts of his companions. The runes in Brynx's book dim, awaiting the verdict. Dreskin feels the wards on their skin tighten as if bracing for a test. Styx senses every shadow sharpen, the stakes suddenly higher than before. The moment of reckoning has come. The dragon demands not only Growth's honesty, but the truest intentions of all who stand before it. The group must respond with courage, or risk awakening the dragon's wrath. One by one, the adventurers step forward, the dragon's molten gaze fixed upon each in turn. Styx is first, his voice quiet but steady. I seek answers to the shadows of my past. The wrongs I've done haunt me. I hope to find a way to make amends, or to finally lay them to rest. Brynx stands tall, their lute slung across their back. I chase the forbidden songs, the truths that were silenced. If I can preserve a legend or give a voice to the forgotten, my journey is worthwhile, even if it's dangerous. Dreskin's hands tremble, but his eyes are clear. I have used magic recklessly and harmed those I loved. I seek redemption, not only for myself, but for the legacy of power I once abused. If this place holds wisdom or forgiveness, I would earn it. The dragon listens in silence, golden eyes unblinking. When all have spoken, a ripple of energy sweeps the chamber, and the runes in Brynx's tome flare to life once more. The dragon's voice fills the hall, no longer thunderous, but resonant with something like Hopeg. Your truths are as sharp as talons and deep as the old roots. You may descend, but be warned. The next trial will cut to the heart of who you are. Brynix carefully places their fingers on the tome, and the runes swirl and rearrange, casting a lattice of light that dances across the chamber's floor and walls. As the rest of the group watches, words begin to form in the air above the pages. To descend, bare your soul to the mirror below. Let shadow and memory intertwine. All that is hidden will be revealed, and only those who accept their darkness may pass unscathed. Dreskin leans in, murmuring, a trial of reflection. It will show us our worst selves, our deepest regrets. If we falter, the magic could consume us. Growth's jaw tightens, and Styx's eyes flicker with unease, but the path is clear. The trial ahead will force each to confront the truth within, not just spoken but lived. As the tome's light fades, a previously unseen staircase spirals downward, its first step gleaming like polished obsidian, a literal and metaphorical descent into their own shadows. Styx takes a steadying breath and steps onto the mirror-black stair, his silhouette reflected eerily beneath him. The shadows shimmer, and with each descent, the world grows colder and more silent, as if even sound is swallowed by the magic. His companions watch, tense, from above as Styx vanishes into a pool of darkness at the stair's base. He emerges in a chamber rimmed with silvered glass, each surface reflecting not his current self, but memories. Some twisted, some painfully true. He sees himself as a trembling child fleeing a burning home, a younger rogue betraying a trusting friend, his face marked by guilt and regret. The images swirl, a taunting and accusing, and the air thickens with the weight of his own conscience. A voice, eerily like his own yet crueler, whispers from every mirror, will you deny what you have been, or will you claim it and move forward? For Styx, the trial is clear only by accepting all parts of himself, failings, betrayals, and pain. Can he hope to find the path ahead? Above, the others see a faint light beyond the stair's darkness, but the choice theirs is trust Styx to succeed, or intervene if he falters in the depths of his own shadow. For what feels like an eternity, the others wait at the top of the obsidian stairs, their hearts pounding in the hush. Below, Styx faces the storm of his regrets. He watches himself betray a friend for gold, sees the desperate, haunted child he once was, and feels the sting of every wrong choice. Each memory presses closer, the mirrored walls closing in until he stands at the very center, trembling. Finally, Styx closes his eyes and speaks, not to the shadows but to himself. "I am all of these things," he murmurs. "But I am more. I am the pain, and the one who survived it. I accept what I have done, and I will not let it define what I become." The room seems to shudder. The mirrors ripple, then dissolve into harmless mist, and a narrow passage opens beyond. A faint, golden light beckons. Above, the faint silhouette of Styx reappears at the edge of the darkness, signaling the others that he has succeeded. The path is now open, but the trial has shown how difficult the way forward will be. The group must decide whether to follow Styx's example, send someone else next, or all descend together to face their own shadows. With a solemn nod to the others, Dreskin begins his descent. Each step on the obsidian stair echoes with the weight of old spells and mistakes. As he vanishes into the shadowy chamber, the air around him tightens, laced with the scent of burned parchment and ozone. He emerges in a room of shifting glass, each mirrored surface displaying moments of magical recklessness, a fireball gone astray, a loved one's horrified face, the crackle of power slipping from his control. The worst is a memory he's hidden even from himself. A spell cast in anger, shattering trust forever. The chamber pulses with accusation, the runes on the walls glowing harsh and red. Dreskin's reflection speaks with the voice of his mentor, disappointment and sorrow entwined. Do you still crave power, or have you learned humility? Will you let your fear rule you, or will wield your magic with wisdom? Dreskin falters, tears pooling in his eyes. But with trembling hands, he sets the spell book at his feet and whispers, "I will not run from my failures. I will use what I know to heal, not harm. I accept what I have done, and choose to be better." The red glow softens to silver, the mirrors fade, and a narrow archway appears, leading to the light where Styx waits. Dreskin steps through changed. Above, Brinks and Growth must decide who will face their trial next, or if they'll confront their shadows together. Brinks squares their shoulders, loot slung across their back, and descends the obsidian stairs. The chamber that greets them is a tapestry of echoing silence, the mirrored walls etched with scenes of forbidden melodies, broken instruments, and the faces of those silenced by fear or force. Runes shimmer in the reflection, dancing to a rhythm only Brinks can hear. As they step forward, the silence breaks. Distorted voices whisper every song Brinks never dared to sing, every truth left unsung. A spectral chair of the forgotten rises, accusing and pleading all at once. The weight of generations of lost stories presses down, threatening to crush Brinks' spirit. Clutching their loot, Brinks closes their eyes and begins to play, not for glory, but for the lost and the voiceless. The music trembles with fear, hope, and longing, weaving a melody that acknowledges pain, injustice, and the power of remembrance. May my song carry what others could not. Brinks whispers, a tear streaking their face, and may their truths live on through me. The mirrors melt into shimmering light, the spectral chore fading into grateful silence. A new doorway opens, golden and bright. Brinks steps through, their song echoing in the hearts of all who follow. Only Growth remains at the top of the stairs, his own shadowed trial awaiting. The Growth stands alone at the top of the stairs, the last to face the shadows below. He draws a deep breath, the air crackling around his scales, and descends into the waiting darkness. The chamber greets him with walls like molten gold, each surface reflecting not just his form, but countless generations of dragon-blooded ancestors, faces both proud and stern, eyes filled with expectation and judgment. The runes pulse with a slow, thunderous beat, echoing Growth's own heart. He is confronted by visions of ancient battles, moments when power was misused, and whispers of failure to live up to the legacy he carries. The voices of his forebears rumbly, will you forge your own path, or forever wander in the shadow of our deeds? Are you worthy of the blood that burns within you? Growth falters, the weight immense, but draws himself up. I am not only the sum of your triumphs or failures, he declares. I honor my heritage, but I am more than it. My worth is not written by the past, but by what I choose now. The golden walls brighten and soften, the images of ancestors nodding in silent approval. The passage opens, filled with warm, dawn-like light. Growth steps forward, the burden of legacy lighter on his shoulders, and rejoins his companions in the golden hall below. The mirror trials are behind them, but the true depths of the citadel now await. The four companions step as one into the golden lit passage, the air shimmering with the promise of new beginnings. Their footsteps echo on polished stone, each carrying the weight of what they have faced, and the hope forged by their acceptance of shadow and self. The corridor widens into a magnificent hall, its ceiling lost in gold-tinged mist, columns carved with dragons spiraling to unseen heights. At the heart of the hall, a dais rises, crowned by an intricate mosaic depicting a dragon coiled protectively around a luminous orb. An ancient power radiates from the orb, and the mosaic's eyes seem to follow the adventurers as they approach. The silence is thick, broken only by the distant hum of magic and the companions' steady breaths. Suddenly, the orb flares, casting shifting patterns of light across the walls. A spectral figure, neither living nor fully spirit, emerges atop the dais. Its form is draconic and regal, with eyes of molten gold that mirror Groth's own. It speaks in a voice that is both many and one. You have faced your truths, but the Citadel's heart has yet to be tested. Do you seek to awaken what lies within, or will you leave, content with the wisdom you have won? The group stands at a crossroads. The Citadel's deepest mystery is before them, but so is the choice of what to risk for the sake of knowledge, power, or peace. As one, the companions step forward onto the dais, their voices steady as they declare, "We accept the risks. Let the heart of the Citadel awaken." The spectral dragon's eyes flare brighter, and the orb at the center of the mosaic erupts in golden white light, bathing the hall in brilliance. For a heartbeat, all is silent, then a deep, resonant pulse shakes the very stones beneath their feet. The light coalesces into swirling patterns, each one mirroring the hopes, fears, and truths the adventurers have revealed. The orb hovers upward, splitting open like a flower to reveal a core of living fire. The spectral dragon bows its head, ancient pride and sorrow mingling in its gaze. Ah, so few have come so far with open hearts. The Citadel lives because you dared to face your own darkness. What you awaken now will shape not just your fates, but the world beyond these walls. A wave of warmth and power washes over the group. The air hums with possibility, a sense that the very magic of the Citadel is listening, waiting for their next action. In the distance, the storm outside begins to fade, golden sunlight piercing the gloom for the first time since their arrival. The companions stand at the threshold of destiny. The heart of the Citadel now pulses in their hands. What will they remake, release, or protect as the ancient magic bends to their will? Time slows as Styx, eyes glazed with a memory and a compulsion older than words, plunges the black curved blade deep into the heart of the citadel. The orb's golden fire shatters, a scream of ancient magic filling the hall as the light fractures into 1,000 shards. A wave of shadow erupts outward, swallowing the days and knocking the companions to their knees. The spectral dragon recules, its form flickering violently, voice echoing in pained disbelieving. What have you done, child of shadow? The citadel itself groans, stones cracking and mosaics darkening. Outside, the sunlight vanishes as storm clouds roil and churn, drawn into a vortex above the tower. The heart's power, once pure and balanced, now bleeds into the world. Dangerous, unpredictable, and unbound. Styx collapses, the dagger fused to his hand. A black tendrils crawling up his arm as the memory that drove him flashes before the other's eyes see a shadowy figure's command. A pact forged in desperation, a curse unleashed. Brinks, Growth, and Dreskin scramble to their feet, the air thick with raw, twisting magic. The citadel's walls begin to shift, corridors warping, time and reality unraveling at the edges. The companions are faced with a terrible choicing. Try to save Styx before the darkness devours him. Attempt to restore the heart before the citadel is lost, or flee with what little power and knowledge they can salvage before the storm within consumes all. The fate of the citadel, and perhaps the world, now hangs by a thread, every second drawn taut by chaos and betrayal. The companions exchange a single, desperate glance, then turn and run. The howling winds and cracking stone chase them down the warping corridors, shadows clawing at their heels. Brinks's music falters, snatched away by the rising storm. Growth leads the way, his strength forcing open collapsing doors and shattered arches, while Dreskin throws up flickering wards to buy precious seconds against the encroaching magic. They call for Styx, but he is lost behind a veil of darkness, the dagger's curse anchoring him to the unraveling heart. The citadel is a maze of Chaosos stairways twist impossibly, Merles bleed black, and the very air vibrates with the threat of annihilation. The spectral dragon's wail echoes through the halls, a sound of loss and warning. Outside, the sky churns as the storm grows teeth, lightning striking the highest tower with a roar that shakes the world. At last, the trio bursts through the main gate, tumbling into a world gone gray and wild. The storm's vortex radiates outward from the citadel, dark tendrils snaking across the land. Villagers in the valley below stare in horror at the spreading shadow, the first touch of a new, unpredictable magic. The companions know the world will never be the same. Bruised, breathless, and haunted by what they've left behind, Brinks, Growth, and Dreskin must decide to warn the world and seek allies, attempt to return for Styx in the chaos, or search for knowledge that could end the spreading curse before it devours all light. The wind whips at the trio as they race down the muddy road toward the nearest village, the sky overhead an unnatural swirl of shadow and lightning. Brinks's voice is raw as they shout warnings to the first villagers they meet, while Groth's sighs and dragon blooded presence command instant attention. Dreskin, gasping for breath, describes the storm's magical origins and the threat it poses to everyone. No one is spared the urgency in his words. Panic ripples through the village as the storm's edge reaches the outskirts, warping crops and sending livestock scattering. Some villagers want to flee immediately, while others demand to know more. The local elder, a steely woman named Mela, stands atop a cart and calls for calm. She turns to the companions. If what you say is true, what can we do? Where should we run? Who will protect us? The companions realize their next move will determine not only the fate of this village, but how the world responds to the spreading darkness. Brinks's music and words could help organize an exodus. Groth's strength could fortify the town for a stand, and Dreskin's magic might buy precious time, or attract attention from other powers who might help or hinder them. Every second counts. The villagers look to the trio for hope and leadership, as the first tendrils of the storm curl hungrily around the village's edge. Brinks quickly scribbles urgent messages, entrusting them to the swiftest riders and a pair of messenger hawks. Dreskin works with village children to set magical signals, flares of blue and gold, that will alert watchers in distant towers. Groth's voice booms orders as he organizes able-bodied villagers into watchful squads, teaching them basic defense and how to resist the creeping shadow. The village buzzes with frantic energy. Some townsfolk lash together carts, preparing to evacuate the frail and young. Others reinforce windows and doors with whatever they can find. The sky above grows ever darker, the storm's tendrils now licking at the village's outermost fields. Lightning flashes reveal movement on the horizon, perhaps the first signs of answering help or new threats drawn by the chaos. Maela, the elder, stands with the companions at the village edge. You have bought us time, but we cannot hold forever. If aid does not come, or if the darkness grows, what will you do? Will you stand with us, or must you go where the curse is strongest to end it at its source? As the first responses return, a band of grim-faced knights, a lone mage from a distant academy, and a frightened courier from a neighboring town. The trio realizes the next decision may decide not only the fate of this village, but of the world's last hopes. With heavy hearts, Bryansk, Growth, and Dreskin urge Mela and the villagers to split into groups, leading the allies and reinforcements to fortify the surrounding towns before the curse swallows the valley whole. Brinks's voice, though trembling, gives the villagers hope as they play a song of courage, guiding the exodus with a clear path marked by magical signals. Groth stands at the crossroads, embracing Mela as a comrade in arms, promising they will not let the darkness claim the world without a fight. As the last wagons roll out and the defenders march to distant strongholds, the trio sets out alone, heading straight into the thickest part of the storm. The landscape warps around them, trees twisted, rivers running backward, and the sky split with unnatural lightning. Dreskin senses the magic growing stronger the closer they draw to the citadel's ruins, and realizes the curse is feeding on the cows and fear of the scattered people. Moving with grim determination, the companions navigate the nightmare terrain, encountering strange creatures warped by the unleashed magic and glimpses of the spectral dragon's anguished form. Drifting through the storm, Bryansk records each sign and symbol, hoping to find a pattern or weakness. Growth's scales shimmer with each surge of raw power, his heritage both shield and burden as they push forward. They know that to reach the heart of the darkness, and perhaps Styx, they must face not only the curse, but the shadowy force that first corrupted him. The storm's eye looms ahead, glowing with a baleful, beckoning light. With the storm momentarily stabilized and the immediate threat held at bay by scattered defenders, Brinks, Growth, and Dreskin set out on the long road toward Styx's distant homeland. The journey is slow and haunting. Burned farms and airy silences line the outskirts of the storm, and the trio is forced to detour around chasms and stretches of land still writhing with unstable magic. Nights are uneasy and filled with whispered regrets. But each step is driven by the hope that Styx past holds the answers they so desperately need. After 10 days of hard travel, the companions reach the edge of a windswept moor. Beyond it lies a small, weathered village, Styx's childhood home. The village seems untouched by the curse, but the mood is tense and suspicious. Travelers are eyed warily, and doors close at their approach. Only when Brinks plays a gentle, hopeful tune and Dreskin speaks of their quest for truth do a few villagers emerge. An elderly woman named Mira, stooped but sharp-eyed, recognizes Styx's name. She reveals that Styx was always different, marked by strange visitations and a shadow that followed him even as a child, as she warns that the secrets here are old and dangerous, tied to a pact made generations ago and to a forbidden altar hidden deep in the moor's heart. If you want to know why Styx did what he did, Mira says, you must face what the family tried to bury. The companions must decided confront the villagers further, search the moor for the altar, or seek out others who remember Styx's early life for clues to the curse's origin. Refusing to waste another moment's growth, and Dreskin leave the wary villagers behind and strike out across the moor, guided by Mira's warning and the pull of ancient magic. The landscape is bleak and restless. Bogs bubble, willow, the wisps flicker in the mist, and the wind carries snatches of lost voices. Dreskin senses the hum of buried wards as they approach a cluster of ancient standing stones, half swallowed by the peat and crowned with tangled brambles. In the heart of the ring, they discover a stone altar, cracked and blackened by old fire. Carved upon its surface are runes that twist and resist the eye, words in a language that hurts to read. Growth's hand tingles as he nears, his dragon blood reacting to the lingering power. Brinks's lute strings vibrate with a melody of warning and sorrow, while Dreskin kneels to study the runes, sweat beading on his brow. As Dreskin deciphers the markings, the truth emerges. The altar was used to bind something dark, a bargain struck by Styx's ancestors when desperation outweighed wisdom. The pact called for a sacrifice to protect the village from an ancient threat, but the magic twisted, passing its curse through Styx's bloodline. The altar's shadow pulses as if aware of their presence, and a voice, Styx, yet not, echoes from the stones, break the chain or become its next link. The companions must deciding attempt a ritual to break the curse at the altar, call on the villagers for help, and risk more lives. A stranger, or search for something in the moor that can safely contain the altar's power. The companions hurry back to the village, the Moors chill, clinging to their cloaks. Brinks's voice is urgent as they gather the villagers in the square, recounting Mira's tale and what they found at the altar. Dreskin, his face pale, explains the runes and the curse's legacy in terms the villagers can understand. Growth stands by the old woman, his presence lending gravity to their plea for help. The villagers listen in uneasy silence as the truth unfolds. At first, fear and anger ripple through the crowd. Old wounds reopened, accusations whispered. Some blame Styx's family for their hidden shame. Others are terrified of angering the darkness further. But Mira raises her voice, calling for unity, and a few brave souls step forward. A weathered shepherd who remembers Styx as a boy, a young woman touched by magic, a pair of brothers known for their stubborn courage. Together, the villagers and the companions form a circle of resolve. Mira reveals the existence of an old ritual, once used to break blood pacts, but it requires the strength of many and the willingness to share the burden of the curse. The altar's shadow seems to pulse in the distance, sensing the gathering of hearts and voices. The moment of truth approaches. The companions must now choose whether to lead the ritual themselves, let the villagers take the lead, or combine the old and new magics in hopes of finally shattering the chain that binds Styx and the world to darkness. Mira stands at the head of the gathering, her voice clear and unwavering, as she recounts the ancient words of the ritual. The villagers form a circle around her and the companions, each holding a candle or a token of their family's past. The air is thick with mingled fear and defiance as Mira draws a line in the dirt, marking the boundary between curse and hope. As the ritual begins, the villagers chant in a language older than the Moor, their voices weaving together in a tapestry of sorrow and longing. Dreskin, Brinix, and Growth stand just behind Mira, lending their presence and silent support, but not interfering with the ancestral magic. The altar's shadow pulses and rises, the darkness testing the resolve of those present, but the unity of the village holds firm. Mira cuts her palm and lets her blood fall upon the altar, the villagers following suit one by one. As their blood mingles, the ritual's power grows, a shimmering shield forming, then cracking as the curse itself lashes out. For a moment, the circle buckles, but Mira's determination and the villagers' shared pain hold fast, anchoring the ritual. The wind screams and the altar shakes, but the shadow begins to unravel, threads of darkness snapping and dissipating in the dawn's first light. Still, the ritual is not yet completing a final act of sacrifice or forgiveness, must be made to break the chain completely, and all eyes turn to the companions for guidance. As dawn breaks over the moor, the companions and a handful of villagers make their way back to the altar. The air is strangely still, the mist slow to burn away. The standing stones feel less menacing, their shadows shrinking as the sun's first rays touch the cracked altar. Mira steps forward, her blood-stained palm trembling, and all eyes search the circle for any sign of change. The altar's runes glow faintly gold, no longer twisting painfully to the eye. The oppressive shadow that once pulsed around the stones has thinned, but not vanished. Suddenly, the mist thickens at the altar's center, swirling into the outline of a figure. Styx, or something wearing his face. His eyes are deep pools of regret and longing, and his voice is both his own and not. You have weakened the chain. One link remains. My will, or what's left of it. Styx apparition raises a spectral hand, the cursed dagger glimmering within it. The blade pulses in time with the altar's glow, caught between curse and hope. The villagers gasp, some falling to their knees, while Brinx's fingers hover over their lute, unsure whether to play. Dreskin's heart pounds as he senses the magic in the air. fragile, volatile, and ready to tip either way. The companions know that whatever comes next bridge the gap between Styx's tormented spirit and the living. The ritual needs a final push, a sacrifice, a song, or an act of forgiveness to free him and break the curse for good. Branks's words ring softly in the dawn-lit circleg. Styx, the chain is broken. You are free. Let go and find peace. Leave the pain behind. The spectral figure's hand trembles, the cursed dagger flickering between shadow and gold. For a heartbeat, the moor is silent except for the wind's gentle song and the quiet hope in Branks's voice. Styx's apparition falters, his eyes brimming with both fear and longing. The dagger drops from his grip, dissolving as it meets the altar. Light pours from the cracks, weaving through the circle of villagers and companions. The runes flare, and Styx's form is bathed in dawnlight, his features softening with relief. "Thank you," he whispers, his own voice at last. "Forgive me." The shadow dissipates, unraveling into the sky like morning mist. The oppressive weight vanishes, and the altar crumbles to dust. The villagers and companions stand in stunned silence, tears flowing freely as the healing sun rises. The curse is broken, and Styx's spirit, finally at peace, fades into the light, leaving behind only hope and memory. But the scars of the pact will remain in the land, and the world outside still reels from the magic unleashed. The companions must now decide how to honor Styx's memory, rebuild what was lost, and face whatever new dawn the Siddle's fall has wrought. Leaving the healed village behind, the trio sets off across the recovering landscape toward the ruins of the citadel. The land is scarred but slowly healing. Wildflowers push through scorched earth, and the air is clear for the first time in weeks. As they climb the familiar path, growth scales catch the sunlight. Brynix's lute hums with dormant power, and Dreskin feels a cautious hope stirring within his chest. The citadel is no longer the storm-racked fortress they remember. Its towers have collapsed, and its grand halls are open to the sky, but the oppressive darkness has lifted. Instead, strange new growths, crystal flowers, glowing moss, and silver vines, twine through the rubble, pulsing with gentle magic. At the heart of the ruins, where the altar once stood, a pool of clear water has formed, reflecting the sky and casting shifting patterns of light across the stones. As they approach, the pool shimmers, and a vision flickers upon its surfacing faces of the lost, moments of the journey, and the subtle shape of a dragon's wing protecting the citadel's heart. It is clear that something ancient, though changed, still lingers here. A faint melody drifts through the air. Brynix recognizes it as one of their own, echoing from the walls as if the citadel remembers their courage. Each companion feels the pull of the placing, a chance to leave a blessing, to plant a new seed of hope, or to draw upon the citadel's reborn magic for the challenges that lie ahead. The end of one story, perhaps, but also the beginning of another. Dreskin kneels at the pool's edge, his hands cupping the crystalline water as Brynix and Growth look on. The surface ripples with magic as he draws a flaskful, and the water glows softly in his grasp. Each drop seems to hum with potential, neither purely light nor dark, but a balance forged in struggle and redemption. A Growth, feeling the resonance in his blood, adds a scale to the pool, strengthening the bond between dragonkind and the transformed citadel. As the trio stands in silent awe, the water's magic reveals visions, the faces of future generations, the growth of the village, and distant lands touched by new hope, or, if misused, by new perils. Brynix, ever thoughtful, composes a melody and lets it drift over the pool, binding their purpose to the place with song. The magic settles, and the pool's glow dims, but the flask in Dreskin's hands pulses with power, a gift and a responsibility. Before they depart, the companions mark the pool with a simple stone and a carving, a dragon twined with a blooming flower, a symbol of renewal. The citadel's ruins whisper a promise. They will remain a wellspring for those who seek wisdom and healing, so long as the memory of sacrifice and hope endures. With the magical water in tow, the trio prepares to face whatever ripples Styx's legacy and the Citadel's rebirth may send into the wider world. Their quest has become something new to guide, to heal, and to protect the balance they fought so hard to restore. The trio leaves the citadel's peaceful ruins behind, guided by rumors of places where curses still fester and hope is scarce. The magical flask glows at Dreskin's side, its power a silent promise and a heavy responsibility. Their journey takes them to haunted forests where trees whisper of lost children, to villages where shadows cling to doorways, and to mountain passes where the wind is thick with regret. In each place, the companions listen, hearing the stories of the afflicted and learning the roots of each curse. Sometimes it takes only a drop of the citadel's water poured into a well or set upon a hearth to break the spell and let sunlight in. Other times, the trio must blend the water's power with music, dragon's fire, or a willingness to forgive ancient wrongs. With each curse broken, the flask dims slightly, but the lands they touch begin to heal, and word of their deeds spreads. Their travels aren't without periling. Jealous mages covet the flask, desperate souls try to steal its hope, and the companions must weigh each use with care. Yet in every challenge, they draw strength from each other, and from the memory of Styx's sacrifice and redemption, they see the world grow brighter, be a stranger, little by little, as the balance they fought so hard to achieve ripples outward. One evening, as they camp beneath unfamiliar stars, the flask emits its last golden glow. The final drop falls upon a barren field, and wildflowers bloom overnight. The companions realize their quest has ended, but a new one beckons to guide others, to teach what they've learned, and to never let the world forget the cost and power of hope.